We know 90% of our members are dead against this carbon tax. It's a terrible tax. Vast majority of people want the education curriculum changed. I was the first one to lead the way on both. And my competitors, you know, if I wasn't in the race, Joe, the carbon tax would still be there. The education curriculum would still be there. I look forward to, again, changing that, going through the policies. And it concerns me that, Joe, you're pretty good in politics. I've been around politics a long time. Have you ever seen a policy that's 80, 90 pages? Ours is 5 points, 5 simple points. We're going to reduce the size and cost of government. We're going to make sure the hospitals have resources and cut out wait times. We're going to cut down on hydro costs. We're going to revamp the education system, and we're going to get rid of that terrible carbon tax. And we're going to create jobs. We're going to create good paying jobs in Ontario. We've lost 300,000 manufacturing jobs under the McGuinty-Wynne Liberals. The environment here is terrible to open a company, and that's why companies are leaving. They're being taxed to death. The people of this province are being taxed to death. Enough with a tax, spend. Those days are over.
So on the carbon tax, and we were watching this quite closely,
Mm-hmm.
I believe that you were the first candidate in the PC leadership race to say you were opposed to it, and the others did subsequently after you say they were against it too. So just for the benefit of some people who may not be completely up to date on it, Ontario's introduced a cap and trade system, put a price on carbon. The federal government has said that any province that does not implement its own carbon regime, that the federal government would impose a tax, and that the provinces where those funds are collected from that carbon tax would go back to the provinces. You said during the leaders' debate that you would actually challenge the imposition of a federal carbon tax on Ontario. For people that are a bit, you know, kind of calculating in their politics, it's been suggested to me that that would be a pretty sweet place for an Ontario Premier to be, in that the federal government would take the heat, the blame, for implementing a new carbon tax, but as the Premier of Ontario, your government would actually get the money and use it however you like. You're saying there shouldn't be a carbon tax at all?
No, there shouldn't be. That's a job-killing tax, and I can't believe the federal government would put that burden onto the backs of just not even businesses, but the people too. They put this word carbon in front of a tax. I don't even know why they put the word carbon in front of the tax. And as for the Prime Minister trying to force this on the provinces, I had a talk with our good friend Jason Kenney, the next Premier of Alberta, and the Premier of Saskatchewan, and myself. I'll tell you, the Prime Minister's going to have their hands full. If we have to go to the Supreme Court, we'll go to the Supreme Court. But we aren't going to burden the people of Ontario and the businesses with an unnecessary tax. It's a bad tax.
Regardless of which level of government implements it, or what we call it, or you're just not in favor of that?
I'm not in favor of it. And just to compare myself with the other candidates, again, they would have had the carbon tax as sure as I'm sitting here if I didn't come out against it. The difference between myself and my opposition is they had to go and take polls, they had to do surveys, you know, focus groups. I didn't. My focus group are the people. It's a bad tax. We aren't doing it.
Okay, fair enough. Now you also mentioned the curriculum.
Yes.
So the comments that I read that were attributed to you were that you believe that the provincial curriculum and our education system should be based on facts and not on liberal ideology.
That's right.
So you can clarify if that was misreported or not. But
that's correct.
So then your critics immediately took that discussion to the sex ed curriculum and nothing else.
Yeah, so again, Joe, let's first of all start off with the math curriculum. Our students, grade 6 students, are at a 50% provincial standards. We should be the highest percentile in the entire world. You know, we're failing our students. The Liberals think right away they're going to throw money at it, I can't remember, 60 million, 80 million. They're still at the 50% standards. That's unacceptable. We're going through the whole curriculum, top to bottom, and we're going to make sure that we have students that are going to be the top in the world. We have great students, but they need support. I've talked to teachers, numerous teachers. They aren't being listened to. They're being ignored by the government. They're frustrated. And as for the sex ed, again, if Doug Ford didn't come out and said, we have to make sure we revise this, look at it and get the parents involved, because the parents weren't consulted, the other two just wouldn't do it, and they're hesitant to do it. So you need to have a principled leader to move this province forward. There's one thing, I think the people have decided Kathleen Wynn's going, but just to replace Kathleen Wynn with another liberal-minded person and the same political insiders, the same establishment, the same old, is unacceptable, and those are my opponents. I'm gonna bring comprehensive change. I'm gonna save the taxpayers' money, put money back in the taxpayers' pocket. We'll leave no stone unturned. I'll make sure we hold the bureaucrats accountable. We're gonna go down to Queen's Park and we're gonna sanitize that place from top to bottom.